All right, you've probably heard about Claude Code. And if you have not, and you're into software development, you're a developer, you're a vibe coder, you use tools like Cursor or Windsurf, or you're just curious about AI coding, Claude Code is a new product by Claude, or rather by Anthropic, which is who are the creators of the Claude AI model, to help developers build faster. And it's essentially an agent. It's a command line interface that works in your terminal. And so what you can see on my screen here is my terminal. I'm using Warp, W-A-R-P. You can use any terminal, but essentially once you install the package, you call Claude by saying Claude here. And there you go. Welcome to Claude Code. So command line interface essentially basically means that you're interacting with Claude Code just through your command line. And so you're giving it instructions, and you can see here, ask Claude to create a new app, clone a repository, use it for file analysis, editing, bash commands. And it's really, like it says here, it's kind of like a junior engineer. And you're just basically giving it instructions in here, and it goes and does things, and it like reads documents or reads all your code base and edits them and creates new files or folders. And basically helps you work on your project right from this interface. And so your question probably is, if you haven't used it before or you're thinking about using it, how is this different from, say, Cursor? And Cursor is an IDE or Windsurf where you can see your code, and then you have like a little chat panel on the side, and you can chat with the AI agent, and it makes changes to your code, and you can see what's happening. And I'll show you in this video why it's different and why it is so much better, and why everyone's using Claude Code, or everyone's like raving about Claude Code. So I've already installed Claude Code. If you want to see how to install, check my blog post. I've written a blog around how to set up Claude Code. But when you set it up initially and you install the packages, you will be asked to either use a Claude API key or one of your existing Claude subscriptions. I'm using a Claude subscription, which is a $20 per month plan, which gives me access to Claude Sonnet 4 as our base model to code. If you are on the max plan for $200, you would get Opus, which is an even bigger model and even better at coding. But for most cases, Sonnet is really good and the leading AI model for coding right now. If you use the API, you're just basically directly calling the model with your API key, and you're incurring costs based on how much you use Claude Code. Which could get kind of out of hand, and the $20 or $200 per month plans are really good if you want kind of unlimited access. So in here, I've created a directory called Finance Tracker, and we're going to build a little finance tracking app. So the first thing you can do with Claude here is, if you use Shift Tab, you can see at the bottom here, I'm changing the mode. So there's three modes. There's mode, the regular mode, which is the default, where you interact with Claude and it returns an answer to you, or it suggests a change, and then you accept it. Then there's auto mode, where it's just like you tell Claude something and it just goes and does it, and you can go have coffee, go for a walk, come back, and it's done. And then there's a third mode, which is planning mode. And this is really cool because it allows you to plan, say, a new feature, a new product with Claude, and then it comes up with like a checklist, a to-do list, and then once you're satisfied with that, you tell Claude to do it, and it does that. So we're going to start with plan mode, and to show you all the various features of Claude Code and how it's different from Cursor, and how you can even integrate it with Cursor if you want sort of a visual view of your code, we're going to create a finance tracking app. Very simple one. It allows me to go into this app and say upload a receipt, or type in a purchase I made, and then it automatically categorizes it, and then it shows me a dashboard at the end of the month with all my purchases and expenses. So I'm telling Claude here, I want to build a personal finance tracker web app. It's got to be clean, modern, track income, expenses, saving goals, have charts and insights, built with React, simple backend, should feel fast and delightful to use. And so we're going to start with plan mode, and we're going to tell Claude to think about that. And so what Claude does is it looks at our request here, and as you can see, it's thinking, it's going through all of the things that it needs to do. So it's like research the current state, plan implementation. And so here we see that it's figured out the directory is empty. So we're starting with a blank directory, right? And so it's starting from scratch, and it's going to build the whole thing from scratch. So here's the full plan it's come up with. Here's our project structure: finance tracker front end with our source components and pages, hooks, and so on, and then the back end stuff with the roots and other things. And then it's got the full implementation step here. Initialize it, React App with Vite for fast development, Node.js Express backend, create a schema for transaction categories goal, implement the CRUD data endpoints, savings goal management, front-end foundation, core features, database, and so on. Okay. So, I mean, this is just like a sort of a demo just to show you how it does, and I'm not going to give it too much input. I would suggest if you're building an actual app, you should be way more involved in the design and the architecture and all of that. But I'm just here to show you how Claude Code works, and we'll see with minimal input what it can do. So would I like to proceed? Yes, I would. And so once I do that, it defaults to auto accept edits. Okay, so just remember that when you do planning mode and you say accept, it defaults to auto accept. You can hit Shift Tab and switch it at any time, or you can press Escape to interrupt it. But essentially right now it's just going to do this full to-do list and just knock them out one by one, right? So here it's paused for an npm command, and it's paused for this because it's a bash command. Now I can say yes, or I can say yes and don't ask again for npm create commands, which means I'll just let it automatically create things with npm for this specific project. Or I can say no and I can change it, but I'm just gonna say yes for now and let it run. So what it's doing right now is it's running the bash command. You see here it's going cd and install. Yeah, let's do that. So one more bash command that it asks for my permission. So as it's going through its to-do list and knocking these things off one by one, I'm going to show you a few other features that Claude Code has. So if you press / over here, you come up with some options here, right? So clear and compact are two important ones that you're going to need, and I'll talk to you about them in a second. Cost is only if you're using the API versus using your existing Claude subscription, which I mentioned earlier. Config is your like a theme and a couple of other configurations. This just checks whether it's up to date or not. You can quit the Claude Code instance and go back to your terminal. And then there's hooks, which is a new feature, which basically allows you to create a hook, which is like a function that Claude Code will call before or after using certain tools. So, it's because it's an agent, it has access to a bunch of tools like reading and writing to files, and then, running bash commands or creating, running scripts. And so before or after, anytime it does that, you can create custom hooks. You can integrate it with an IDE. So like Cursor, for example, and I'm going to show you as well how to set that up. You can initialize a new claude.md file. So this is something that you'd want to do if you're bringing Claude into an existing project. You start by initializing it, and it looks through the project and creates a claude.md file, which is sort of it's kind of like summary of your project, so that it can look at that and reference it every time you ask it something. So it has like context. Integrate with GitHub. So you connect it directly to GitHub. It can push, pull, all of that, and set up GitHub actions and trigger GitHub actions. Log in or log out with your Anthropic account. Manage MCP servers. So I've got like a Supabase MCP server set up here, basically. So it can connect directly to my Supabase account and like make changes to my database. I can edit the memory, so it has memory files to remember how I like to work. Oh, we're back into another bash command, so I'm going to say yes here. And back to where were we? Okay. Setting the AI model for Claude Code. So these are just like a couple of other specific settings here. Manage the tool permissions, GitHub pull requests, and then upgrading to max for higher limits, and Vim. So a lot of really cool options in here, and you can create custom ones as well. So for example, I could create something like /deploy, let's say, And slash deploy basically tests my app and then tests the deployment of my app to see make sure everything's working, and then automatically deploys it to Vercel or something, right? So it's basically a series of commands that I can package up into a slash command and then just type that in once. And then it just does that every single time versus me having to tell it, hey, can you run a test? Now can you check whether it passes all the linting errors? Now can you deploy it? I just package that into one command. Okay. So let's also look at Cursor and see how you can integrate it. Because what you're seeing here on my screen is Claude is creating all of these files that was in the to-do list, but you can see a plus 64 lines, plus 298 lines. These are all files that it's creating, but you can't actually see what it's creating. It's just like summarizing and telling you, hey, here's what I'm creating. And, kind of like, here's what it would sort of looks like. So for example, here, where it made an edit to an existing file, it shows you the diffs, but it's not showing you the full file. So when I first started using Claude Code, I was like, well, okay, I can't really see what it's doing. Like I want to look at the code. I want to see what it's doing. I was a little put off by that. I mean, of course, I like later realized how good it was at what it was doing, that I was like, okay, I can like relinquish some control. But, I'm going to show you that if you do still want to see the IDE or code and like interact with your code, I'm going to show you how that it works with integrating with Cursor. So here I am in Cursor and I've opened up the Finance Tracker app. As you can see, it's already built out like all of this back end, the front end, source and components. There's a README file now as well that explains everything. And so basically like you can use Claude Code in your IDE, and as you can see here, you've got the little icon over here. So this is the normal Claude Cursor chat, right? Chat window here, which I can toggle on and off. And I see all my files in here in Cursor, and I can set up the terminal at the bottom here as well. But if I click Claude Code, this opens a new tab where Claude Code is running now in my IDE. So I can actually just get rid of the Cursor tab and maybe like just change the size here. And so I can actually type in here, tell Claude Code what to do, and it will actually do stuff. So if I click into, say, the dashboard JSX file here, right? It knows I'm in this file. It can tell that I'm in the dashboard file. So I don't even need to tell it which file I'm in. It kind of works like the way the Cursor agent works. But here I could say, explain this file to me. I mean, I could ask you to make some changes to the thing, but let's go with this. And here we go. So because it already has a context, it knows I'm in dashboard or JSX, it's reading the file, and then now it's going to like explain what it is to me. And so you can see here, this React component displays blah, blah, blah. And then I can ask you to make changes, right? Like I could say, hey, can you display something else, or can you change the size of this widget or the color or whatever, right? Like, can you like change this paragraph to something else? And you can see here, it has the 4 lines that I've selected as well. So I could actually just like select this. It's got the file line selected, and then just say, can you, I don't know, like change the size of the grid or the card or whatever. And it knows what I'm looking at, and it could just do that. So this is like a really great way to use it in conjunction in your IDE, so you can actually see what's happening. And the other thing you may have realized is that I'm running this Claude Code in Cursor while also running it in my terminal. So I have multiple agents running right now. As you can see here, like this is also running, and this is actually done. So we're done with building the personal finance tracker. I built a complete modern finance tracking app, full backend, full front end, run the backend, start the front end, and then visit my local host. So let's actually do that and see what Claude Code has built for us here. Let's go with, can you... All right, and here we are. We've got our finance tracker app up and running. We have a dashboard, transactions, and goals. So I can go into transactions, add a transaction. This is, by the way, all completely just vibe coded by Claude Code, right? I just told it to do it from scratch. It built the whole thing on its own. Any errors that it encountered, it figured on the way. And then when it was ready, I just said, hey, yeah, start my dev server, and it started the dev server. So let's just put some something in here. and see if it works. And yeah, let's add a transaction. All right. So it seems that I don't have a database connection. So that's why it's failing to fetch this. So it's built the front end, it's working all well, but there's no data and no database connection at the back end. Like I can still like create all of this stuff, but we have that error, which is fine because like there is no data and like we don't have like a backend really set up. We do have like some backend. But what I can do now is I can go back into Claude Code and say, all right, well, I'm getting this error, right? The fail to fetch error. So can you help me with that? And it'll understand what's going on and it'll actually set up all the things. Or I could even just explain like, hey, I think this error is happening because there's no data. So A, can you create some error handling for it? And B, can you add some dummy data in the backend so that we can see it? So I'm actually just going to go back into Claude Code and tell it to do that. Oh, okay. You know what? It actually did build a backend. I didn't realize it. I hadn't set the backend to start running and now it's running. And so all of it is here. So you can see the dashboard. You can see transactions, goals. So let's add a transaction here. We've got an expense for $30, some food, food and dining. Let's call this Uber Eats, right? And then we've got the date there and boom. So my transaction has been logged here. It's stored in the database. And then I come to the dashboard and I see the thing, like number of transactions, balance. And I can set a goal here. So let's add a goal. Target, the goal title is a vacation that I'm saving up for. I'm saving $1,000 for it. I have $0 saved up already. And it's for like the end of July. Right. So create a goal here. Boom. Okay. So we're 0% to my goal. Back to the dashboard. We can see some quick actions where we can add income, expense, and new goal. It's interesting that I can't see my existing goal here. So maybe what I can, a little piece of homework I can give Claude Code is, hey, in the dashboard, in the quick action section, can you add a new goal? Let's try that actually. So I'm clearing the conversation, which you should do fairly often so that you can clear out all the context. Another way to clear the conversation is to use the compact, where you can tell it specifically what kind of information to keep from the previous conversation into the next one. That's a good way for you to continue a long sort of project or feature with Claude Code while maintaining context. I'm just going to go back and now I'm going to say in the dashboard add a section where I can see a summary of my existing goal progress, right? So here it's going to now make some changes to the dashboard page. And when we were working purely through the terminal, you could see what it was doing, but you couldn't see the full file. When you add it to your IDE, as you can see here, it's reading the dashboard or JSX, and so it creates its to-do list. It's reading all the necessary documents, and basically explores the code base, understands the data, the structure, and now it is going to design a goal progress summary component, and then it's going to implement it into the dashboard. And so you can see now you can actually see it in your Cursor IDE what changes it's making, right? So you can go in, okay, like this is the goals.js file, and down here it's got like this new stuff. And do you want to make this change? I'm going to say yes, and it adds it all in and automatically saves it and closes the file. Great. Another one here. Yeah, and I'm just going to let it run and not ask me. So auto accept edits again. It's just going to continuously make all the changes it needs to make. Let it run. Changes to the dashboard happening right here. Now, because I'll let it auto accept. It's not showing me what's changing in the actual like IDE over here. It's showing me on the right hand side. But if I'd not done auto accept, it would, I would be able to see specifically in the file what it was changing and then accept it and then move on to the next. But it's making a whole bunch of changes and it's adding a new component and it's pulling data for that component and so on and so forth. And now it's adding CSS styles. So it's really smart in that it's just like you ask it to do something, it'll figure it all out. And yes, Cursor has that sort of functionality, but Claude Code just does it better. Like it it's just smarter about it. It can take an entire project and break it down into steps and then go one by one, knock it off. And that's what I personally really like about Claude Code. Like it's just so good at it, and it automatically just like tests it as well. So it runs its own little development server, tests it, make sure things are working. Another thing it does well is it just runs like tests for linter errors and so on and so forth. And so yeah, look, API endpoint is working, front end is working, back end is working. And so here we go. We've got our saving goals progress. We've got our total goals, which I've already filled in. The one goal, and it's not completed. It's not overdue yet. And the progress is 0 because I just put it in. But basically, yeah, this is it. Now we have quick actions down here, add an expense, add new goals. We can see a dashboard of like our income, expenses, and our progress to our goal, and any other recent transactions that we decide to put in there. So our little finance tracker is done and ready. We showed you how to start from scratch with Claude Code, set up the entire project. It basically creates its own little checklist, goes through everything, figures it out. And then when you tell it to do something, it goes and does the same thing again. Use the planning mode when you're creating a new feature or product or something big. Continuously clear your conversations with Claude. And then, yeah, those are the main ones. And if you want to be a power user, you can use things like MCPs, hooks, and then integrations with GitHub, Actions, and your IDE. And I've explained more in my blog to show you how to set all of that up, because I've already set it up, so I don't want to set it up all over again in a video. But you can go into my blog and read how to set it up and then set up yourself. Use the MCPs that you need. I use Supabase because it's my database of choice. And then I already have like the GitHub CLI in there, so Claude can actually run, GitHub pull requests and stuff using the CLI. And then the other cool thing is with my Cursor integration, I can use Claude in there to see what changes it's making. But I can also still use the Cursor agent to ask questions to it. So I can use that just as sort of talking to the Cursor AI agent, which still uses Claude in the backend to ask questions about my code base. And then I use Claude Code to write the code, which is a much better coding agent than anything else out there. So anyway, go try it out. I am absolutely in love with Claude Code. I've used it so much over the last few weeks since it came out, and so much to the point that I canceled my Cursor subscription. So I'm not telling you should do that too, but once you get into it, you start getting hooked really quickly. I was at first a little skeptical of not being able to see the actual code, but then I got used to it because Claude Code is so good, and it's just a joy to like use and like plan with it and see how it comes out with those to-dos, and using some of the more advanced features makes work so much easier when building something. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out my blog post for more instructions on how to set it up and create an amazing dev workflow for coding.